The pitch from Acevedo.
Swung on the line, down the left field line for a base hit.
Fly ball, gap, right center field. And
Double him up at second.
Luke is going back to the 1-8 track. Get out the right, run and Buster Grandma. It is grand salami time.
will send Seattle to the American League Championship Series for the first time in 24 years.
Hello and welcome back to the Light the W podcast. I'm Holdomingo Anderson as always. And it's a new week, and the Mariners need to find their groove as they head back on the road. After a 3-3 homestand at 500, that really should have been a lot better. The Mariners head off on the road, on a road trip, to try and get back to where they expect to be. The play has not been good enough on any part, and really this trend of nothing being in sync continues. That said, there's still a game and a half up on the Athletics for first place in the American League West, and still are above 500 at one game above before they head to Pittsburgh this week. Mariners have a road trip in Pittsburgh and Cleveland, which will be a lot more difficult in terms of the teams that they are playing than who they've been playing recently. But you never know with this Mariners team. They seem to only want to show up specific games, and even those games, they seem to not want to show up some of the time. On this episode, we're going to talk about J.P. Crawford, Dom Canzone. We're going to talk about the Mariners against lefties. We're going to talk about Dan. We're going to talk about all these different things that are adding up in terms of mistakes, all these different things, energy, fight, all of these different things that are just not clicking right now for this Mariners team that are causing them to really, really struggle. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Let's start with the positives. All right. J.P. Crawford has been absolutely awesome at third base since he moved over. Now, he's only played 36 innings at third base here in 2026. For context, he has played 461 innings at shortstop this year. So not a very large sample. But in that sample, he already is worth one defensive run saved in his average in terms of outs above average and Fangraphs run value. In terms of fielding run value, pardon. Again, for context, you compare that to shortstop, where he was -6 defensive runs saved, -8 outs above average, and -6 fielding run value. So, these metrics all back up what the eye test has told us, that J.P. Crawford looks pretty good at third base. He's looked pretty good, ranging to his left a couple steps, being able to make a sliding play and make the throw. There hasn't really been any issues there, and Colt Emerson's been great at shortstop as well when he's been there. Now, that said, you look at the Mariners defense specifically on Saturday night. There were a lot of times where the Mariners weren't able to turn double plays. Now, that's not necessarily because of J.P. Crawford being at third base and Colt Emerson being at shortstop. Part of it's that the balls weren't hit very hard. They were slow rollers. They were choppers. They weren't really plays that are easy to turn double plays against. And the Red Sox were running each and every one out at their full 150% effort, right? So it's difficult to double guys up. But when you allow those runners to get on, when you can't end the inning, when you're just not getting those double plays, it causes runs to be able to get added on. It's more tax on your pitchers. It causes Emerson Hancock to have to be pulled in the 6th inning at 76 pitches, right? So these things add on to each other. It may not, in that one inning or that next batter, cause, there to be an issue or cause there to be runs scored. But the more you do it, the more these things are going to add up. Baseball is a game that will bite you in the butt when you can't do the little things right. And right now it feels like the Mariners aren't doing the little things right, even with J.P. Crawford looking pretty good at third base. Now, this is maybe a conversation for later in the season. Absolutely, definitely is a conversation for later in the season. But should J.P. Crawford look good at third base and continue what he's done so far this season with his bat, there's a real possibility that the Mariners look to bring him back in 2027 should there be a season. there's a lot of value in JP Crawford's bat for this team. The Mariners really desperately need a guy that is able to get on base, able to walk, able to just work counts, work tough at bats, not strike out 25% of the time. That's what JP Crawford has been. You look at what he's done so far this year, it's a 117 WRC plus, not including Sunday, with 10 home runs in 60 games, with nearly a 15% walk rate, and a strikeout rate below 19%. All of this while running a career low batting average on balls in play at 232. He's only hitting 217 in terms of average, but that 348 on base percentage is causing the Mariners to have guys on base in front of who are the guys that are supposed to be the heavy hitters, with JP Crawford leading off for most this season. Now, when JP Crawford hopefully moves back down towards the bottom of the order once Brendan Donovan comes back, this also plays a really important role for the Mariners because he will allow them to be able to flip that lineup back to the top. Now, you look at the top of the Mariners lineup, you look at the whole Mariners lineup, there's not a ton of firepower in there right now because guys are struggling. From Julio to Cal to Naylor to really up and down the lineup, there are guys struggling. Colt Emerson's hit a little bit of a colder spot. Cole Young's sort of been up and down throughout this year, and when you're facing a lefty, Rob Refsnyder hasn't been sent to the sun yet. So he's somehow still there. Right, but having JP Crawford be a guy at the bottom of the lineup around Colt Emerson, around Cole Young, around Luke Raley, Dom Kendall, all of these guys, right, is an important piece to be able to have a vet down there that can work counts, that can work his at-bats, that can make it difficult, and that can flip the lineup consistently. A bottom of the lineup that looks like Dom Canzone, Cole Young, Colt Emerson, JP Crawford flipping into Brendan Donovan is going to be really, really good for the Mariners against right-handed pitching. However, this comes into one of our first issues that we have really seen with this Mariners team, and it's that they haven't been able to hit lefties. Now, part of that's because Rob Refsnyder has been absolutely nothing, and part of it's that Julio Rodriguez really has struggled against lefties more than you would want him to. Cal Raleigh's another guy that has struggled, but it really does all start with Rob Refsnyder, who's now over 100 plate appearances on the season at 112. And his WRC plus is dipped all the way down to 26 and is worth -1 Fangraphs wins above replacement. It's safe to say to me that this is over. I waited it out pretty long for Refsnyder, but over the past week, it really is. It's enough. Like there's nothing really I can say. He's been given opportunities. He's been given 46 games. He's been given 112 plate appearances. And it just hasn't come together. He hasn't looked like the guy you expected him to be. It hasn't looked like the guy you wanted him to be. His on-base percentage is barely at 200. Slightly over. His slug is 224. There's nothing you can really say other than it's a failure. And, the process behind the signing may not have been bad. I liked the signing when it first happened, and I'm always going to think back to, was the process right? Yeah, in my opinion, it was. But even though this is the type of guy that really continues to struggle in Seattle, there's almost a curse against this type of player. We talked about it when he signed. It's eerily similar to a guy that the Mariners signed a few years ago in A.J. Pollock. Pretty much the same numbers the years prior, same age, and look what happened with Pollock, look what happened with Refsnyder. So, the Mariners gave him a pretty good chunk of change, right? They gave him over $6 million this year, and they expected him to be a key piece of this team to be able to attack left-handed pitching, which was an issue last year and has really been an issue this year. But even if Refsnyder has not been good, there's other guys in the lineup that have not been good enough. Let's go look at Julio Rodriguez's stats, for example. So if you look at Julio's stats against lefties and righties this year, he's actually really struggled against righties, but against lefties, he's been a 146 WRC plus, with almost all of that coming from a 544 slug. He has 7 home runs against lefties in 40 games. So actually, he's been pretty good, right? He has been good against lefties, but around him, it's been a struggle. Let's go look at Josh Naylor, who has struggled for the most part of this year in general, but against lefties, he's a 97 WRC plus, just about the same as against righties. Problem is a lot less slug, just a 366 slug. And even though his slug has been bad against both, that ISO is really, really low at 0.85. It's a lot lower than against righties where it's 0.131. The Mariners just haven't had it against lefties. And whether it's the guys at the top of the lineup or the guys at the bottom of the lineup, up and down, it hasn't been good enough. And it starts and ends to me right now with Cal Raleigh, right? You saw the production that the Mariners got out of Johnny Pareda and Mitch Garver when Cal was gone. They got production from the lineup, and it really changed the entire look of this team in this lineup. If Cal Raleigh can figure out how to be any sort of consistent hitter, this team's really going to be able to find some success. But it's been a struggle. And he has all these leadership things. He is the captain, quote unquote, of this team, him and JP Crawford. However, you go to a ball game right now. I went to 2 this week myself. In both games, it felt like the Mariners were sleepwalking. And this is where my frustration comes in. They just look like they're sleepwalking through games. They're getting thrown out on the base paths, whether it's a pickoff or getting thrown out on a stolen base, which is going to happen. But it's the situations where it's happening. Julio Rodriguez, first inning, they have guys on. They have 2 guys on, and they execute a double steal with Rob Refsnyder at the plate and 1 out. Now, would Refsnyder have grounded into a double play? Entirely possible. But Julio Rodriguez gets thrown out on a stolen base attempt at third base, and he takes away any opportunity because is Refsnyder ever going to get on base? No, of course not. But he's hitting in the 5 hole, and he's killing this team. Killing them. The fact he led off on Friday is an absolute joke, and whoever decided that should be fired yesterday. Dan should be fired yesterday, to be honest. Half of me hoped that the Mariners would lose on Sunday because they'd be a game below 500 and they'd have an off day, and Dan Wilson should have been fired if that would have happened. He probably should be fired anyway. And part of it's these lineup decisions, but the bigger thing to me is that Dan Wilson is here because the Mariners need a leader in the clubhouse that can make sure they turn up for games, and he hasn't been able to do that. And maybe it's because why would you listen to the guy that's batting Rob Refsnyder leadoff or 5th in the lineup? I mean, I don't know if I would listen to him either, to be honest. That's how you lose a clubhouse. But the combination of getting thrown out on the base paths, sleepwalking through games, making dumb errors like Connor Joe made on Saturday evening where he just picked his head up and didn't watch the ball into his glove, or the Mariners threw the ball away, and the lack of just fight. You go down a run or two and, oh, that's game. Why are we turning up the rest of this? Is abysmal. 4 hits through the first 2 games against Boston is abysmal, a joke, depressing, sad, everything. And you can say what you want about how their lineup against lefties isn't good enough, and Rob Refsnyder shouldn't be in the lineup, and he shouldn't be leading off, and he shouldn't be hitting 5th. And I just said all those things. And those things are all true. But it shouldn't matter. This team still should be good enough to get hits against those guys. You should still be good enough to score runs and to make plays defensively and hold teams. You shouldn't making a loopy throw to home plate when you need a double play to get out of an inning. That should be zinged home and get the double play out of it. Didn't happen, though. Josh Naylor with a rainbow of a throw. They can't get the double play. It's just the small things right now. When one thing finds some success, the starting pitcher, the bullpen, or the lineup scores, one, if not multiple of the other things go wrong. From the defense to the bullpen to the starting rotation. There just isn't a cohesive team right now. It's player by player. It's unit by unit. If you think about, and if you're someone that watches soccer, this is something that gets talked about in soccer a lot. You want guys that are going to be there for the name on the front of the jersey, not the back. They're playing for the badge. And that's what the Mariners need right now. We need this team to be playing for the city of Seattle again. It feels like it's a bunch of individual efforts that just are coming up short because that's not how sports work. You can't just be an individual. You need a team. There are 26 guys on a roster, and you need all 26 of them to be able to contribute. You look at the Mariners roster right now. Let's go pull it up on Fangraphs, in fact. If I'm telling you need 26 guys to be able to contribute and to be able to be a piece that you trust in different situations. Now, part of it's due to injury, but I look at this lineup right now. Do I trust Victor Robles? Probably not. Do I trust Weston Wilson? No. That's 2. Connor Joe, 3. Rob Refsnyder, 4. The starting rotation I should trust, but how many of those guys do I truly trust right now? 1? Let's say you add another 2, 3 guys to that, right? We'll say 2. You're at 6 guys already without even getting to this bullpen of guys that I don't have confidence in, that I don't trust right now. I go to the bullpen. Andres Munoz is a guy I haven't been able to trust right now. Nick Davila, Alex Hoppy, Michael Rucker, Luis Castillo, all guys that you just can't trust right now. That's 10 out of 26 guys I don't have confidence in and I don't trust right now on this Mariners roster. That's not good enough by any means. For a team that has World Series aspirations, that is not good enough. Andres Munoz needs to figure it out. Cal Raleigh needs to figure it out. You could add him to that list and make him number 11 easily. Julio needs to find his consistency. Naylor needs to find his consistency. You need the guys that you expect to be guys to be that and more. Another thing to note is let's talk about Gabe Spire for a second. Let me look at the box score today to make sure he didn't pitch. Because I don't know if he did, but he very well might have. He did pitch today. Prior to today, though, Gabe Spire had not pitched since June 13th. That is over a week ago. Spire has dealt with injuries through this year at times and all of that. But I've talked about it with Andres Munoz. These guys need to pitch. If they're not healthy enough to be able to pitch on any sort of consistent basis, they're not good enough to be in this bullpen right now. The Mariners are running a 7-man bullpen, and the piggyback is back, and you saw why it's useful this weekend, because the Mariners felt like they could go to Jose A. Ferrer in a big situation in the 6th inning of a game on Saturday evening to try and get an at-win and have an opportunity at a rubber match on Sunday. That's because of the piggyback that they were able to do that. And the one and only reason. But if you're only able to throw Gabe Spire once a week, you have 3 leverage guys right now in this bullpen. One of which being Edward Bizardo, who has been fantastic for the past few years, but that is still not the role I want him in. At all. Never, ever. Please, no. The Mariners right now, from their front office down to their lineup, down to their rotate, all of this, they're having a hard time making the decision of we want to be winners and we want to put everything we can in and put all of our chips in. Let's put a chip in each game. We're going to hold, right? They just need to go all in and push their chips forward and just compete and battle and work your ass off each and every day. And I'm not saying they're not. But it feels like by the time this game happens, their head is out of it, their mind's out of it, their body's out of it, and they're just not there to compete. They're getting just run over by a truck or a train too often. And they're just making a mess of the season. They need to figure it out. And yes, they're in first place. Yes, they're the favorites to win the division. Yes, they're very likely going to be able to make the postseason. But I expect this team to make a deep run in the postseason, not be a game or two and done. I expect them to win a series or two. I expect them to get a bye. I expect them to be playing good baseball. I expect them to be something I want to watch night in, night out. I want them to be something where I'm begging to go to the ballpark, searching my pockets for money to go to the ballpark, night in, night out. I went to 2 games this week, both of which I left saying, do I want to come back here tomorrow? No. No. Because I watched this team and it takes years off my life. It is terrible. It is frustrating. And whether it's Dan Wilson or the player leadership or the front office, whatever it is that is causing there just to be a malfunction in confidence and trust and fight and energy in this team, whatever is causing that, gone. Needs to be gone. Needs to be fixed. I need to see a spark in this team. I need to see them go put up 8 runs one night here and just look like they are playing with their tails on fire, fighting for each other every at bat. That's what I want to see. Not Connolly Early carving you up. And you making dumb errors in the field and on the base paths and making trashy garbage swings and throwing wild pitches. It's not being able to get double plays. It's a lack of energy. It's a lack of fight. It's a lack of confidence right now in each other, in themselves, in the team, in the organization. Whatever it might be, needs to be figured out. Burn some sage in the clubhouse. Fire Dan. I don't care if Dan Wilson would be a scapegoat at this point. He's not good at his job, and maybe they need a scapegoat to fire this team up. Maybe they need a fresh voice to fire this team up. Whatever they're trying right now isn't working. And we're in the midst right now of the World Cup where there is an influx of people in our city. Go make them Mariners fans because you play a fun brand of baseball. Instead, it's like, oh, yeah, I'd become a Red Sox fan after last night. Saturday night, I'm speaking of course. Recording this Sunday evening. And you can use the excuses of, we are injured. We have Cooper Criswell, Matt Brash, both down. Brendan Donovan's been down for hella. Luke Raley was down for a little while. Naylor, Cal, JP, Randy. You can use that as much as you want. But you built this team to be able to withstand injuries. And when you're playing some of the worst teams in the American League, even with injuries, you need to be able to win, especially if your rotation is healthy. And I have talked a lot about this rotation lately. But you have gotten decent starts the past couple days, including quality starts, and you haven't had a shot because you haven't gotten hits, you haven't gotten on base, you haven't had traffic, you haven't scored, and you've just looked lost at the plate. And this is what I'm talking about with a cohesive team. I need to see the lineup firing on all cylinders with a quality start, with the bullpen showing you 3 guys, 4 guys that just annihilate you, shut you down, and say, F you, get off the mound, get back in the dugout. I want a game like that right now. Give me a 5-2 win, a 4-2 win, whatever it might be, where you just play your brand of baseball. Or show that you have a brand of baseball, because right now you don't. There's not an identity. It's an identityless, fightless, confidence-less team that doesn't really know what they are, what they're trying to be. Are we trying to hit home runs? Are we trying to knock the ball around the yard like an AL Central team? Or what are we? What are we? They look confused, lost, and they just don't know what they're trying to do. They're guys that love baseball, that have been playing baseball for how long? You built this clubhouse to be strong, tight-knit, and confident. But when you have Rob Refsnyder leading off, not sure why I would be confident and trust you in the clubhouse anyways. Look, I'm fed up. I'm sure a lot of you are fed up. But I still really, really believe in this team. This team really, really, I believe, has the guns, has the bullets, has the weapons to be able to go and compete with anybody in baseball. But I need to see it. We're not even at the All-Star break. There's still plenty of time for you to show me what this team is made of. But show me soon. Show me soon. All right, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you guys so much for listening. On Wednesday, we're going to do our favorite segments from Down on the Farm, Seattle Sports Wraparound. I'm going to look around baseball as well, around the horn. And we'll talk about a deadline target as well and discuss what the Mariners have been doing lately. Till then, thank you so much for listening. Go M's and peace.